Hi, this is Fran with Stampendous, and this is week 136. And we've been doing our watercolor series all year and having a lot of fabulous Friday fun. So we're going to start in with our lavender fields. And I just think this is such a fun one, and the colors are great. So this is a 3x4 piece of my watercolor paper, and we'll fast forward the stamping since this is pretty easy. And you will see how the field comes together in 3 different pieces. I stamped this one a little bit further back to look like it's further in the distance, and if you want to draw a little connecting line, you can do that with a fine line pen. And there you go, we're ready to paint. Rose and marine blue are giving me one range of purples, and the rose in this compartment with the phthalo blue gives me another range of purples. Okay, and I'm going to create a wash across all of the lavender fields here in the foreground. Do some little dots to kind of bring it into the foreground. I almost did kind of a curve of painting here. Nice to get that olive shade of green, which is your yellow and the marine blue from this compartment. I'm going to lighten the trees in the distance, but I like how some of this is mixing together wet on wet here in the foreground. Okay, so those purples lightened quite a bit, and now I want a darker shade of purple with a drier brush to hold more detail. So now I'm going to add some of this much darker purple to make these rows of lavender look a little bit more rounded in each of the rows. So I'm darkening to the left-hand side. So now with mostly just a damp brush, I'm spreading out each of those dark to a little bit medium range of, okay, and again you'd have more detail and more color in the foreground. Okay, for our houses, we do a little bit of this golden color here to have the contrast of the yellows and the lavenders. It's kind of nice to get some yellow tone of complementary colors here. Little dots. We'll give it a patina to make it look old stone here. Now for our red tile roofs. Okay, a very nice little vignette. I didn't take the time to paint this one, but I wanted to show you with the stamps that you have in this set, you can also do some interesting silhouette type things with very dramatic sky. So as extra credit, you might give that a try. For this slim card, I've cut my watercolor paper to, here it is, 3 3/4 by 8 1/4. That's the ideal maximum size. And I've taped the edges with my masking tape, and remember to burnish and low tack, reduce the tackiness of the tape before you press it down, as we've been doing all along. And now I can stamp this whole scene, and the taped edges will help me blend it all together here. I'm going to stamp this one twice. And I don't want it to be too symmetrical, so I'm going to move this one a little bit further up on the paper, and we're going to fill in with more painting to bring it all together. And these trees are further in the distance, so we stamp those higher on the paper, and it should fit nicely between here. You want to define a little bit more of a horizon line. Start by what you have here, and just even a wiggly line will help give you your bearings here. Okay, and if you want to enhance that further with your fine line pen, this is my 05 again. We don't want a ruler line, we want a wobbly line. So we'll start with some blue sky. While that's drying, we'll mix up a lot of greens to get us started. This yellow has the phthalo blue, so I'll get some different cheerier shades of green. And before long, I'm going to have to replenish my yellows there, but I think we'll be able to work with that. We'll start with light washes and then build up more shades of color as we go. And we'll just fast forward here. You can see how I've intentionally darkened out to the edges and leaving the lightest area here and then coming forward into the foreground. So my greens are still rather wet, and you could decide how much more of a forest or whatever you want to create in that background or those open areas. But you can see the darker colors begin to fill in most of it. And now we'll do some light washes of a light brown. I have some light brown here and some that was mixed before. So let's just set in. I realized I didn't leave much of an indication for this pathway to kind of continue through the scene, but we'll just give a slight indentation, illusion of that here with some brown. And it can go on top of the greens and it's still going to work just fine. Okay, so now we'll do the same with establishing first some light washes of browns and then going back in and enhancing with deeper and deeper shades of brown to do some shading. Now, numerous different shades of brown are probably going to be more realistic looking than everything uniform. So we'll just capture different shades of brown from all different areas of the palette here as we proceed. Less and less color and less detail as you disappear off into the distance. So you're going to be able to get a lot of different variations out of this Forest Path stamp set, because you can get different seasons, different times of the day and night, and different types of trees by just the illusion and different colors that you mix. Oh, let's take the tape off. For this one, I've cut my watercolor to the inner panel size of 3 3/4 by 5, and I've taped the edges, and I always burnish the tape to reduce the tackiness before I press it down. The taped edges make this an easy composition where things will just go out of view, and that works just fine. Now in this case, we do need some lines to define our room. So I have my ruler. Maybe it's best to start from this edge. There you go, that lets me align the top edge of my ruler to square it off. And then I can use that part of my ruler to create a second line for a wide baseboard. And I could do an inked line on top of that, but I think I'll just paint up to those edges, and that doesn't draw too much attention to it. I'm going to paint the backgrounds in first. And for this kind of light blue, I'm using a lot of the phthalo blue, but I'm also getting a bunch of my gray from the top part of my palette. And I'm going to subdue the color a little bit, and that creates a very nice shade of a light blue here. It's a little bit dark. We'll get a little bit more blue. And again, with my light source from here, I'm going to darken to this side. For our Siamese, we want a very light, kind of just a tan sort of color, not too yellow, similar to what I was using up here for the wall. Add a little bit of the gray black to just kind of tone down the color. And then I need some of the blue gray for the ears. Adding a little bit more of the blue tint. The baseboard needs just a little bit of shading, so we'll add just a bit of very light color. I'm going to soften that. Better let that dry a little bit more before I remove the tape. With this one, I wanted to show how you could have them on the bedspread and pillows, and just by drawing some curved lines coming out from our curled up kitty here, I'm going to create the illusion of blankets and things where they're tucked down in the middle. And this gives me an opportunity to do lots of different colors like a quilt. So I'm just going to fast forward this. Maybe I will do a couple of other lines here. And at the end I can draw my marker lines over that if it's needed for the quilting. with so much color in the quilting, I'm going to just do some very light washes as though these kitties are white. And we're just going to do a little bit of shading here and there. And even that I'm going to lighten. Do just a little bit of pink in their ears and little rosy cheeks here. I'm going to lighten that as well. Okay, that gives you the idea, and when it's dry, I'm going to add a little bit more of striping and dots to the fabric colors just to enhance the look of the quilt. So thanks for watching, and take a look at our gallery with the finished cards. Hope you had lots of fun with your watercolors. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.